So imagine a bunch of adult men standing around talking about children's pants.
Yeah. Podcast that I'd like to congratulate the human race that in the face of unspeakable human tragedy, we can always find somebody to fucking blame. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
All right.
Lori's all right. She's not dead in a flood in Texas. That's pretty all right. Tonight is Monday, July 7th, 2025, 7/7. If we were British, it would be a more meaningful date to us, right? When the train attacks or the tube attacks, 7/7.
Oh, that's right. I was watching a little documentary on that the other day.
Tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 7/7. And you know, they have their dates backwards. And the good thing about the 7/7
and yet it doesn't
Still
matter.
works.
Can't go wrong.
I like the way that they do that.
Yeah, they do
I don't
it
like
better.
a lot of what they do in terms of differences from us.
They do it way better.
The American way is mostly better, specifically with regards to our disdain for the letter U in unnecessary places.
Yeah.
But month first,
Yeah.
followed by
Day.
day,
Is weird.
is sort of wrong, right?
It doesn't go in order, but it reads better.
I don't know. 11th
June
July
Boom.
year works for me. Like, it just makes more sense.
Are you? Do you have any thoughts on the height thing? You know, we got the feet and the inches, and there they
Yeah,
got
metric's
the
better.
centimeters.
Except for degrees.
Because
Yeah,
like
metric-
6 foot tall, that means something. I don't know what is it, 180 centimeters? I don't right. I mean,
Yeah, and then you get into like the kilos. You get on the apps and they're
Well,
like,
but it's just because
they're
we're not
telling you-
used to
They're
it.
telling you how many kilos they are. It's like, what?
yeah.
You got to do 2.2 or something. Like, what
No,
is?
Yeah.
It's a better way of doing it. It's just that we're not used to
Then
it.
they've got stone.
That is
No,
is
they
that an
don't.
Australian thing? That doesn't make any sense. Is that 14 pounds? Like, it's just some.
They don't have that.
The British, they say stone.
I thought that was like a Aussie thing,
They
but maybe it
used
is
to.
also the British. But yeah, I mean, the kilos at least, it makes sense. It's like, you know, but the stone.
It is curious that we have like 2-liter drinks. And good luck figuring out how many ounces is in that 2-liter. Because they won't fucking tell you.
I'll tell you on the bottle.
They often don't. It's just 2 liters.
Yeah, that's right.
It's real solid material we've got here at the start.
You don't have to do it.
Consistency is key. Whatever you do, just as long as it's consistent, you know.
Yeah, the temperature measurement that we do here is far superior.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want it
But
to be a
that's
little
it.
more expressive because you know, like I'm watching sometimes the BBC and they talk about it's scorching at like 37. I was like, what is 37? I don't know what that means, but like 100 degrees, kablam! That's hot. I don't need any more.
Well, there's a comedian, I think.
That's
who
because
was
100,
saying-
it sounds bad.
Well, you can do. He said that Fahrenheit's like with. So I have 2 different ways. One for room temperature for weather. He just think of it as like percent hot. Like 0% hot is very cold, and 100% hot is very hot. But more for cooking. Like the difference, like I'll have recipes that are at 300 and some that are at 325. The difference in Celsius is like nothing.
right.
So you can be more precise with those higher temperatures.
What do? You set your oven to fucking 40?
No, that wouldn't cook anything.
All right, 50?
Like 120.
No wonder they have such stupid food.
Is that what it is?
Before we get into all of the unspeakable human tragedy, Abe, you ran a race this week.
That's
Yeah.
right. On Friday, the Peachtree Road Race, billed as the world's largest. I don't think anyone looks into these things. And so
World-
just
The
got
World's
largest
largest
peach tree
what?
race.
10K. So it's not like a high profile
Quite a thing
distance.
to lay claim to.
Right, but
Should
you
be
know,
the same
usually
size
you
as
want
all
to go
the
for
other
marathons. You know, you got the Boston, New York, you know, other London. So like nobody is even trying for the 10K. So that's a good angle by whomever came up with it in Atlanta. They're like, nobody gives a shit about a 10K. Let's do the biggest.
It's way too hot to run more than 10K.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like, you know, they start like at 6:30 in the morning. In the run up to this run, I was running in the heat, like, you know, like 90 plus degrees here in Atlanta after work, because that's when I run, and that proved very useful because 7 o'clock run was like just a breeze. It was so nice, like just a very comfortable run. Bunch of lazy people. You know, there are a lot of obstacles throughout the 6.2 miles where there are people offering you, like, plying you with, like, beer and Jello shots.
You're calling those
and, like,
obstacles.
Yes, those are obstacles at the side, and people, you know, you're tempted to stop and take pictures by the, you know, mile markers and other things, and people are dressed up in random costumes. There are people that are.
These are not serious people. This is not a
no,
serious
I mean,
race.
but the event is more like a festive thing. So there's like this. They were handing out miniature flags for all, and you know, people.
Somebody got 43,000 flags and handed
They
them
had
out?
a lot of flags, and so yeah, like it's
For the
very
fast
like
people.
Yeah, and so yeah, and they have different waves, and so yeah, overall it was a very fun run. There were a few people that I ran it with, and we met up afterwards. They had like a big section at the park where the course ends, and everybody just kind of congregates. We got some food and drinks, and just kind of hung out for a little bit.
You sent us a
like
screenshot
8:30 in the morning
of your placement here, 9,910th, which
pretty good.
Like
top 10,000 finish.
That's not very good. And then
it's good.
But the denominator is 43,003. It's a lot of folks.
Yeah, those useless bums. There are a lot of people that were just walking it, you know.
How about among the friend group? Where did you place?
So I was. There were 5 of us. I was second. One of us under 50 minutes. It was like 49 minutes.
Wow.
So around
Absolutely
like
smoked you.
from out west. He's got those long legs. A disadvantage to me. I can't cover as much ground. It's kind of like that.
But
Usain
you're
Bolt
African.
scheme. Yeah, that is true. I do have that advantage. But yeah, and then everybody else just kind of like, you know, an hour 10, an hour 15. You know, your regular kind of
6 miles in an hour 15 is not. It's not anything.
It's not, but I will say it is. It's not friendly terrain.
No, and it's hot and humid.
And
Even though it's less hot and humid than in the afternoon, it's still awful.
Yes, it is. It's very humid, and you know, in around mile marker 3-4 miles in, there's what used to be known as Cardiac Hill because it's very hilly, like just very steep incline. And you have to kind of like manage it, or else you'll gas. And this year, I don't know if it was they changed the name last year also, but I just noticed it this year. They changed it from Cardiac Hill to Hope Hill. I don't know if that was sort of like some legal issue that like we don't want to be encouraging.
Maybe like a few too many folks actually had heart attacks.
Yeah, they killed over.
Hill.
Yeah.
Well,
so now
that's like
they
Murder Kroger. Sometimes the name makes sense.
That's true. Yeah, maybe you're inviting it. So yeah.
Well,
so
it sounds like they're. I mean, not if they're like putting signs up, like, and it's part of the marketing of the fucking race.
Isn't Murder Kroger a landmark, a historical marker?
No, you used to be able to put Murder Kroger on your Google Maps and it will tell you exactly where to go. Mm-hmm. I think they've kind of changed that. But Cardiac Hill, they had signs for it in the past, and now it's Hope Hill. But anyways, a lot of fun. We didn't have any. It was a beautiful
Did
day.
the lottery buy it, and it's the Hope Scholarship Hill?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yes, a sponsorship kind of thing.
What'd you do with the rest of your weekend? Anything?
So I went to.
What was the plan Friday night? Did you go do patriotic things?
They were doing some sort of fireworks thing near me, and so I just went there and just watched for a little while. You know, after the sun went down.
You say just watched. What other activity could you engage in when fireworks are happening? Like what?
There are people
not to pick on a single. I'm not a big fan of the word "just." I think I've gone through that rant once or twice before on the podcast, but yeah, you just watched because I mean, you're not a licensed fireworks professional.
So here's the thing: there are fireworks shows that are run by like the city, or there's some sort of official process. Hey, this local town is doing a thing. Come, watch. Bring the kids. This was not that. This was everybody in the neighborhood. If you have some like fireworks, just bring them, and then just go to the center and just light them, and we'll all watch. And so I didn't bring my own fireworks. I was just kind of partaking. I was a freeloader, if you will, of
I hope
other
that you
people's
were
fireworks.
at a safe remove.
Oh, that was a funny thing. When I called it, I mean, basically this was at the end. Everybody was running out of stuff, but these young kids thought it would be funny to just like throw a bunch of fireworks in front of everybody, and it just started.
Was it funny?
It was amusing, but until it started coming my direction, I was like, "Oh,
See?
I don't like this," and like, "All right, that's it."
The youths are onto something. It did turn out to be funny.
Because it didn't have anything. I guess it didn't have the money for the more spectacular ones, so they're like,
They're very expensive.
Yeah, let's just freak people out. That would be fun.
They sell all sorts of fireworks. Like at Costco, you can buy these like big $200 multi-packs. And I'm sure that they're fun, but they're not the ones that go
They don't go up.
screaming up into the sky and
They're
explode in
just
spectacular
into
fashion.
the ground.
They
Right.
just do the whirligig thing on the ground and shoot sparks everywhere. So we don't even bother with that stuff.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Spoiled by South Carolina.
did you guys go to a fireworks show?
No.
No.
Oh.
On
Well, sort of. On Thursday.
Oh, yeah. We went to Busch Gardens on Thursday and we watched fireworks there.
Oh, that's right. The day before.
But that was at some distant remove from the goings on. And we were busy trying to get on rides instead of
You were on rides.
purposefully engaging with the fireworks display. It was the last hour of our evening there, so it's like let's just keep getting
pack
on
it in.
rides. And then we did in fact have a spectacular view of the fireworks as we climbed on one of the roller coasters. We were able to like get right up at explosion level
Nice.
as the fireworks were going off. It was pretty cool. But yeah, that's what we did. That was Thursday. Friday, we just went to Lori's mother's house, and that's just what we did. I mean, cooked burgers on the grill and had a nice dinner, and left the kids there for the evening before coming home. Some of their neighbors were blowing stuff up in the cul-de-sac there, but we didn't partake of that. Busch Gardens was fucking wonderful, though.
How
Really was.
you guys stayed the whole day, right? You guys did the
Whole
plan?
day.
And we
Hardcore.
got out of the house at like 7:15, got to the park at like 9:22 or something after a stop for some breakfast and gas. And then the doors don't officially open until 10 o'clock. So we parked, just a spectacular parking spot. I know you get old and you start truly appreciating such things.
That's right.
You know, so many people that I talked to when I was like, do you go to Busch Gardens? What do you tips? Every single one of them and the whole Facebook is like, pay for the preferred parking. Do it. It's worth it. And like, yep.
So you
Paid for
guys
the
paid for the preferred parking.
Right.
Yeah,
and you
it's just
and we pulled
then,
it.
you don't have to take a shuttle.
Among the
Gotcha.
probably first 10 or 15 cars into the preferred parking lot, and we were able to park it like just right under a tree, just like, I don't know, 40 yards.
Didn't end up mattering.
Didn't
but
matter, yeah, because I mean, obviously,
We were disgusting.
by the time we got out of there, it was 10:15 at night, and so the fact that the car was in shade all day didn't matter very much because it had been hours since the sun went down. But anyway, you park the car under the tree, and we just walk 40 yards, and we're basically like right at the front gate of the park, and it was great. And we lined up, and so we're among the first 40 people or so to walk into the park. And we go and we get on a roller coaster. It's a total walk on. There's no line whatsoever.
Nice.
And we do that roller coaster, and we're like, there's still no line. We should probably just do this roller coaster again. And so we just did that roller
It was
coaster
so
again
great.
before taking off for other parts. I think the longest line we waited on all day was like 30 minutes.
I think so, for the log flume.
And that happened once, and then maybe another couple of 20-minute waits. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's like 5
great.
minutes, 10 minutes.
When is peak time over there? Is it in the evening? Like, when does it get really busy?
I think that it was getting busier in the evening because it was 4th or 3rd of July.
Okay.
Normally, I think you would see your peak probably around 4.
Okay.
Yeah, but like with the holiday coming the next day,
People were coming in late.
coming in happy to stay there and stay late.
People who have season passes, you know.
It was busy, but at no point did it feel overwhelming or
great.
anything like that. And I'm so accustomed to like the nightmare of obviously it was a great day every time we went in my childhood, but also my experience of going to Six Flags every summer was, we're going to wait in a line for like 60 to 90 minutes to do this 2-minute roller coaster. And then we're going to go stand in another line for 60 to 90 minutes. And like, it was a good day when you got in all of the major attractions once, right? Because there's just that much waiting around. Right. And at Six Flags, especially the one in Georgia,
pleasant.
It's not a great wait, you know? Like a lot of it's in the sun. There's a lot of the back and forth cattle herding cues that they do there. Like, it's not like they don't put the work in like Disney does to make them interesting or exciting line waiting experiences.
I can tell you the ways this wasn't a Disney trip. I won't, but I could.
Yeah. But it was almost entirely pleasant. And so much of walking around Busch Gardens is in the shade because you're just there, like in a forest, basically. And the experience of going on these rides and like it truly feels like you are riding roller coasters through nature in a way that I have not really experienced before. And I thought that was overblown. We watched a couple of YouTube videos about like what to expect.
No,
or like
people they're like, it's so much nature and shade.
Yeah.
And it is.
And it is. And it's just fucking lovely. And it's a hilly part of the country. So there's a like walking around, it's not easy. It's not
as
flat.
hilly as here.
It's just an incredibly pleasant, surprisingly pleasant place to be.
On the same note as walking around is lovely, there was never a time where you didn't feel like you could like go sit right here. Like there's lots of benches and tables and things like that, but there's also lots of ledges where like you can put your butt here. Okay. And a lot of theme parks don't want to do that. It was a stark contrast to Las Vegas, where like there is nowhere to sit.
And that's by design. For what reason? They want you to...
Because it's nice. They want you to come.
No, what I'm saying is that why don't places... They don't offer seatings like...
because they want you to go sit at a restaurant.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
No.
They want you to go somewhere to pay to sit. Like at Disney, there's a fair amount... but they want to jam as much stuff in these parks as they possibly can. So if there's like a ledge where you could sit, it's like, well, we could put an attraction there. What are we doing?
It helps also that like Busch Gardens is 4 times the acreage of Magic Kingdom. Like it's just enormous.
Yeah.
So everything can be a little bit more spread out, and it doesn't feel like
was great.
It doesn't feel like it wasn't overwhelming to walk around the place all day either.
No, not at all.
So, did you guys have like intermission? Like, where are you guys? Like when you're not waiting for a ride, are you guys just chilling somewhere?
Like just walking around. We did a show.
Walking around.
Oh, they have shows.
Yeah, they had
shows.
They have a few shows because
they're all countries.
Yeah, each part of the park is divided into a different nation, and so like we went to Ireland and we watched the Irish. What do they call that? Like the
Irish dancing,
the river dance bullshit.
They don't call it that. They just call it Irish dancing.
I think they call it the river dance bullshit.
That's great.
Yeah, the guy came out and had the wireless mic on and was like, everybody here for the river dance bullshit. Now let's make some noise. They always do that thing where it's like, no, like really make some noise. I can't hear you. All right, man.
It's in the script. He has to do that.
Just move your feet quickly and not your body so much.
He is not a dancer.
What else? Lori's too old for roller coasters, as
I'm
it
not
turns
too
out.
old.
Lori's two pussies.
I'm not. I just get motion sickness now, which sucks.
When did that kick in?
I don't know. I haven't get it, but I read.
I mean, it kicked in like 30 seconds into the first roller coaster. What are you talking about?
No, it's always after. I'm fine on. It's afterwards that is a problem. There's apparently you can do like vertigo exercises beforehand to like get your inner ear right. So next time I'll do better.
Nice.
I had no such problem because I am young and virile and
Is that what it is?
capable of withstanding all manner of motions.
Bob injured his neck playing a video game, so
And fully recovered just days later.
1 week later.
The new roller coasters kick so much
So
ass.
different.
Like
So these, it's a mixture. Do they have like some old school ones?
yeah, they have
of
some
the
older
sleek?
ones. There's like one wooden roller coaster in the entire park,
And
though.
it's new.
And it's a relatively new one. But like just the when they used to make the metal roller coasters, and they're still the same concept, right? Like your fucking roller coaster car gets hooked up to a chain, and the chain is on a pulley system, and it drags your ass way up high into the sky, and then you go over a little hump, and gravity does basically all of the rest. These launch coasters are
Entirely changes everything.
something else. You sit down and they're like, all right, fuck you, you're going. And then it's like 80 miles an hour this way. And it's like, whoa.
Or just like 50, if that's what they felt like. There's a weird control to it that it's disorienting for me. It's amazing and I love it, but it's not expected.
Right.
It's like, we're just going to pull you enough to get you over this little thing. It's like, what?
Yeah. Couple of very fun rides. The one called
Pantheon.
Pantheon is one of the best roller coasters I've ever been on, probably. It's just very sort of cleverly designed. Like you get on this thing, it's a launch coaster, and they fucking launch you this way, and you think
It's so smooth.
it's very smooth, and you think that you're going to go through this, all the way up and do the corkscrew and the loop-de-loop and what have you, but your momentum stalls out as you approach the top of the hill, and it's like, uh-oh, and now you're coming, and they drag your ass back, and they pull you all the way back up this big fucking spike backwards, higher than you've been up to this point, and then gravity does its thing, and also
They're also pushing
it's
you.
another launch. It's another part of the launch, so they just fucking fire you straight down into the ground, and then that time you do achieve the corkscrew and the loop-de-loop.
And it's over an upside down U, it's great.
Very cool roller coaster. And then Griffin is another one where
It's a dive coaster.
you're 10 across, which is an unusual setup. So
10
there's
across.
10 across, three
Only
rows.
3 deep.
Oh,
Three
okay.
rows of 10 across. And
You should look up a picture.
they take you
Dive
up,
coaster.
and you're super fucking high. It's like, I think it's the highest one in the park. And that was the one that we could see the fireworks from as they were happening. We rode this one like 3 times, and you get to the edge of the hill, and they just hold you there for 5 seconds as you're looking out over the park.
You're dangling.
Very pretty.
You're looking straight down.
Dangling straight, unless you look up. You can look up and see.
Unless you look up.
And then you're just fucking gone. And it's just a really fun ride.
Theme parks are the best.
Yeah.
I don't know why people do anything else. Theme parks are so great.
Because it's exhausting, and there's a lot of humanity
Yes.
there, and it's expensive.
Yes, but all of that being the case, if I'm going to have to do something, that's the thing. Not, what other people do. I don't know what people do. They go to cities and walk around. Ew.
Yeah, Abe, what's the matter with you?
I'm thinking it's been many, many years since I've been at one of those places. I think maybe college. I don't know. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
What did you go to? Six Flags?
Six
back in
Flags
the day,
over
or?
Georgia. I just the one thing I remember is waiting in line, like you said.
Yeah.
Just
No, you got to go to the good theme parks.
yeah. Maybe I'll trek to a good one.
Disney.
Well, you go to
Disney.
different cities. You go to Dollywood.
Oh my God, you should go to Dollywood. That's our next
not that
one.
far.
It's in
It would be really
Pigeon
funny if you
Forge.
became both a Buc-ee's enthusiast, podcast reviewer type, and then also like one of these roller coaster nerds.
That's right.
The roller coaster nerds on YouTube are a different breed.
They're my people.
Are they? You can't even handle
I think
their.
so.
You can't
Oh, by the
handle
way,
it.
did you
I can talk about them.
did you not participate in some of the rides the rest of the day, Lori, or what was your?
Some of them I had to skip. If
Okay.
I figured out if there's a lot of, because what I love is this acceleration and a drop. That's totally fine. It's the turning
Okay.
and the like quick up and down, like on a country road when you
Yeah.
like your stomach kind of goes into your throat.
Yeah.
It was just not suiting me well. So some of them that look a little twistier, I was like, I will skip that one. And like a couple of them I'd been on.
Okay.
And
So
you also skipped anything like any of the smaller ones that are like
Well, that's been years.
like your typical
I don't do the
Fair
things that aren't
or
fun.
whatever. Yeah. Like the teacups or whatever. I skipped a couple of the smaller like
There's no point. What
the
are we
stupid
doing?
ones where it's your kid just sits in a cup and they spin you around real fast for a minute.
Did they have any like carnival barkers or any like, hey, come throw this ball at this thing?
Yeah,
Yep.
they have some games like that.
You know what
and
they don't have at Disney?
What's
Those.
that? Oh, they're okay.
You know what the problem with those is, like, I want to play the games and like charge a slightly more reasonable price.
Yes.
And like
Everything was very
one
expensive.
ball, I get one wiffle ball for $5 and a chance to throw it into that basket over yonder. $5 for one wiffle ball? I don't want the fucking prize.
Right.
Like that's the main reason that I'm not playing your game is because if I win, you're going to ask me to carry around this monstrous prize for the rest of the day.
That's right.
And why would I want to do that? It's not even a good prize.
Yes.
It is the most cheaply made, like it's on the XY axis of like size and cheapness.
Yeah.
They're just aiming to get to the biggest part of both of those axes. And why? Why do I want that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have, like, if the games were more reasonably priced and also I didn't have to worry about carrying around a stupid, highly flammable stuffed animal for the rest of the day, might have played them.
So you would play just for the satisfaction of a job
For the
well
sport,
done?
yes.
Okay.
For the gambling aspect of it more than anything else.
Gambling.
Then you turn it to a degenerate sport. People are betting at the side. I don't think this guy's got it. I don't think they're going to make it.
Oh, absolutely. Anyway, fun day
We had a
at
great
the
time. Highly recommended that
at Busch
Busch
Gardens.
Gardens.
The only thing that we did wrong was we got dinner at Busch Gardens instead
Oh,
of
they refunded my coupon.
Well, that's good at least. It's a lesson that I knew from our Disney experience more than anything else, which is we only really did one real dinner at Disney the entire time, and it was this big fancy sit-down dinner, and it was
It
very
was an
nice.
Experience.
Right, and it was part of an experience, right? You go to fucking Bell's Castle.
You're at the
And
Beast
or the
Castle.
Beast's
Not Bell's
Castle.
Castle, the Beast Castle.
All right, Beast is there, Belle is there. They're at this point in
She's
the
not.
story arc. Well, sure, she was there. She came out, didn't she?
No,
Pretty sure Belle was there.
she wasn't.
Anyway, we go to the Beast's castle and they serve you this big fancy dinner, and it was perfectly fine. What you don't want to do when you're just having a one-off day at the amusement park is set aside like an hour and a half
Yeah.
to eat some fucking dinner. Because first of all, speaking of XY axes being out of whack here, the quality of the food, though perfectly acceptable, is completely out of proportion with the price that they're charging you for it. Even if you find the right restaurant there and it's perfectly fine food, like obviously it's going to be absurdly overpriced. And then also the opportunity cost of
That's the real issue.
not just being on a line or being on a ride in that moment is ridiculous. Like just stop, get a pretzel, get a Coke, and be done with it, and eat it in line or something. Don't spend half your night waiting for dinner.
Yeah.
That was
Except
the only
some
mistake
people
we made.
are at the parks basically to eat. So for them, it makes sense. But not for us. We're not those people.
Don't be a person who goes to Busch Gardens for the food.
Okay, so here's the other thing about Busch Gardens in particular. Not a lot, besides pretzels and funnel cake, not a lot of like food dishes, not at restaurants.
Yeah, that did suck. Like they don't
So
have
that's
good...
why I bought the fucking coupon, because I knew we'd have to eat at a restaurant.
Oh yeah, we got those Irish nachos as a snack for lunch.
But that was the one thing, like all day.
Yeah.
What makes it an
They
Irish
don't
nacho?
potato chips
They made
instead
them
of
on
corn chips.
potato chips instead of corn chips.
Irish.
They call them Irish nachos.
So here's how I know that we weren't at Disney World. Way number, I don't know, like 6. I bought a coupon that was like buy an adult entree, get a kid's entree for $1 or something. Seemed like a very good deal considering. So I bought 2 of them because there's 2 adults, 2 children. Cool. We get way more food than we would normally have eaten. But in my head, we're getting the kids' ones basically for free. Right. So we're all going to eat all this food or not, and we will have gotten a good deal. We get up to the cash register after waiting quite a long time. We're very hungry, and the restaurant was very busy, and the cashier is like, it's not working. And what I didn't say to him was, do you know how I know I'm not at Disney World right now? But instead I was like, okay, I guess we'll just pay for the food.
It's not working.
It's not working.
Said the Dominican. He's not working.
It's not working. And he showed like it wasn't working. He wasn't wrong. But at Disney World, it's like, oh, weird. That's not working. Magically, I made it work.
Also, this is a profoundly stupid system in which you pay for, like you're buying a coupon basically. So it's $26.99. Then you get the kids meal for 99 cents, and that's not just a coupon that you like put on your phone and then they.
It should have been
right. It should have been that, but instead you pay ahead of time, so that then like it's like a prepaid thing. And then you don't pay on your way out the door, right. Which is an absurd system. Yeah. Like just give me the coupon. And I guess they're like trying to limit the amount of use that it gets, because if it's a coupon, then maybe somebody screenshots it and they share it with 1,000 people or something, and so now too many people have.
I don't know, but it wasn't working.
But either way, it wasn't working. So who knows? Anyway, that's the only negative experience of the entire trip. Was like we should have gotten a stupid snack and a funnel cake, and then
got a funnel cake.
Picked up McDonald's or something on the way home.
Yeah,
and
whatever. We screwed up. Also, so here's the thing that we didn't do, which is very popular in these theme parks. So King's Dominion had this too. When Calvin went, they bought it for him, and Disney has a obviously much more complicated version, but Busch Gardens has all-day dining for like $60 per person. So every 90 minutes, you can get yourself like a full meal, which is you can easily make that worth doing, but that is an insane amount of food to be eating. Yeah. It's too much.
It's like people, if I have a lunch, I've said this many times before, but like people eat so much fucking food relative to the amount of food that I am capable of putting in my body and not like needing to sit down for a long time afterwards. Like if I watch my brother eat go out to lunch and get like a half-pound burger and a pile of fries and have 2 beers, and like that's just the second meal of the day. He already had eggs and coffee and sausage 3 hours ago. And he's doing this now. And then in like 4 hours, he's going to eat another entire fucking meal of like 1,100 calories or something. Like, how do you people put this much fucking food in your body and still survive? And I know that it's like I'm 6'2". I weigh a lot of pounds. Like, you would think that I would be among the top eaters in our fine nation, you know? But like I consume so much less than so many of the people around me. I'm astounded by the amount of food that people are able to put away.
Yeah, that is interesting, especially like in that setting. Like if you're eating that much and you're just getting on rides, aren't you like, I don't know, it just seems like it's not a very fun afternoon.
You're walking around and sweating.
Yeah, no, but the amount of food that you can put down, especially if they're incentivizing you to eat like every 90 minutes, try to...
Yeah. Every 90 minutes.
Yeah. Take advantage.
Anyway, we should probably talk about all those dead kids in Texas.
Why?
Huh? I don't know. Seems like we should.
Okay.
So that happened on Friday on the 4th of July? Or was that like overnight into the 5th?
I think that was overnight into the 5th, right?
I don't know.
Either way, it was bad. And again, there's not a lot to say about it. It's not that we have to talk about it, but it is frustrating to listen to people find people and institutions to blame it on when those people and institutions are not just the demiurge, the great God, the great disinterested, ambivalent God above. If we're going to blame anybody, I think that's probably where the blame should be laid. because these things happen and people die.
Right.
And it happened in is it called Flood Alley or something? Like Flash Flood Alley is the nickname of this rural area through which it happened. And obviously a sort of unspeakable tragedy, and including most prominently, I think 27 people at this one summer camp, mostly younger girls, and then some of their camp counselors also, all dead. And there was a moment on Sunday where a story started circulating that 2 of the girls had been found in a tree, and it was circulating to the point where somebody mentioned it. We had a little baseball thing on Sunday afternoon where we just opened up the field for the kids to come down and play wiffle ball, basically completely informal, let the kids come out and have fun with one another. And then some of the chatter among the parents was, I think they rescued 2 of those girls from that summer camp. And everybody was like, oh, wow, what a miracle. And turns out the story was total bullshit.
Right.
Oh, dead.
But that's to be expected. Whenever things happen, like that second shooter thing that always happened until they're like, oh, it was just one shooter. Sounds like it's one of those things where like just in the fog, and maybe was this a deliberate thing that somebody spread, or just like one of those things?
Apparently this is from Brian Stelter over at CNN. Quote, apparently the first online account of a rescue came from an Austin-based volunteer, Cord Shiflett, who was posting disaster updates on his popular Facebook page. Overwhelmingly thrilled to report 2 young girls were just found alive, he wrote, and posted a video about it too, borrowing both the reporting language and the visual rubric of the news industry, as so many people do nowadays. Rumors about the miraculous rescue spread among local residents in text chains. The Kerr County Lead said it received numerous messages. The NBC affiliate in San Antonio repeated the Lead's report. Far-right influencer Laura Loomer posted the story while saying she had a friend nearby. New York Post aggregated the claims and stated it as a fact in a headline, Miracle Rescue. But reporters who called around found nothing to back it up. Representative Chip Roy, knowing his constituents wanted to believe the rumor, did the right thing and wrote on X that it was not 100% or that it was 100% not verified. Later in the day, the Lead retracted the story, calling it a classic tale of misinformation that consumes all of us during a natural disaster. And Shiflett posted another video profusely apologizing. Was I too quick to share it? I don't know. I was so excited it made my whole day, he said, attributing the false story to public safety officials who told him about it.
Yeah, that seems like one of those things that happens. You jump the gun. You're just kind of clinging to hope that it's true, and that kind of takes over you.
Yeah, but to have it then go from some guy with a Facebook page to the NBC affiliate to a local newspaper to the New York Post, and then the rest of the wacky media ecosystem beyond that, it's not the sort of thing that could have happened quite so easily before, certainly.
Right, and also, news
because someone learned it on TikTok.
Yeah, news did not travel as fast as it does now. Yeah. It is, I saw some video of like just how it develops so fast, this flood. Like you hear flash flood, you hear all these warnings, you see the aftermath, but like to see it happen, it's remarkable how fast things get out of control. And the people that were just a second ago driving through this causeway, that whole place is now like a river. And it's like a tidal wave of water that happens incredibly quickly. Right, and so it doesn't.
Because when they say like water is coming up a foot an hour, that doesn't really tell you what's actually happening, right?
Yeah.
Because once it clears the water table or whatever, it's not like it's slowly over the course of that hour just sort of rising, right?
Right.
Like it's now we've raised everything and it's just fucking here.
Right.
Like it's a nightmarish disaster that's happening. It's not like even when you hear it described, it doesn't quite capture how quickly and how terrifyingly quickly it can happen.
Right, and it's like
what are you supposed to do?
That's actually true. What are you? I mean, if you basically
vacate known low-lying areas is the only thing that you can do, right?
Okay, so we're good.
We are good. Like we get flash flood warnings all the fucking time, and it's like, well, I don't know what. I guess I won't go driving.
We're at the top of a hill
where it says bridge floods before water, or bridge might
Something
flood
like
in
that.
rain, or whatever the fuck the sign says. Don't go out when the flash flood warning is happening, I guess. But presumably for these people who are encamped along the side of a river that is known to frequently flood, when a flash flood warning goes out, you retreat to higher ground as best you can. And unfortunately, it seems like those warnings were not delivered in timely fashion, and to whatever extent they were delivered in timely fashion, they were roundly, or at least to some extent, ignored to awful effect.
Right. There was a bit of a blame game going on early on. It seems like that has, at least I think it has died down somewhat. Like I think like the local officials were trying to blame National Weather Service and all this other stuff. But like I was watching the PBS NewsHour earlier today, and they said that the local officials, like this was I guess some time ago, they were considering putting some sort of detection devices so they can sound the alarm more rapidly. You know, where people can actually take action, like, hey, this area is going to flood and you need to, like, seek higher ground. And they decided against it because it was too costly or whatever. And so...
Right, and this county in particular missed out on a grant, I think, last year of $1 million. Like, they were in the running for a grant to get an early warning system put in, or some sort of hydraulic warning system put in, and they failed to achieve that grant and therefore didn't fork over the money for such a system. There was that people were blaming Doge and cuts to the National Weather Service and people being fired or otherwise leaving their jobs. That doesn't seem to be
right
the case either in terms of finding someone to blame, though all of those cuts were in fact made. It seems like the proper warnings went out as reasonably as could have been expected. Marjorie Taylor Greene posted on Twitter on Friday morning, "I am introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense. I have been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering." She said that apparently apropos of nothing at 9 o'clock on July 5th morning.
Was she like responding to like a retweet or like?
Well, she's clearly blaming the severe weather on weather modification and Jewish space lasers and who knows what else.
Have you noticed? I mean, this I guess has always been a thing, but it seems to be more frequent now. Like it appears that some people cannot engage with the world and the news without attributing or assigning blame to somebody that they don't like, or it's like this
I think it's way worse
the
than ever, and it's the only aspect of this that's interesting or worth talking about. I think. Imagine a news story, any news story that happens, and then try to imagine not hearing about who is blaming whom for this thing that happened in the world. Every single story is going to end with, or at least include some sort of context about how Group A is blaming Group B for the thing, and Group B is either in turn blaming Group A or passing the buck on to somebody else, or simply saying it wasn't me, it was somebody else. Whether it's the weather, whether it's something that happens in government, whether it's something that happens with a street crime, whether it's something that happens in terms of protests on the street, anything that you hear about, certainly anything that relates to our national politics, is always going to come back around to how the opposition ideology can be blamed for what's going on.
Right. And if you can't, then you'll concoct something to make it so. Like, I mean, every story that has happened in the last few weeks, it's been that. I mean, those politicians in Minnesota, they were shot, and then like whatever story fit your narrative is what people went with, despite what the truth is, right? And now you have this where people are like, without like pausing and thinking of like, these are a bunch of kids that died. I mean, there were others among them, but it's a very tragic story. Typically in the yesteryear, there would be like the mourning, and then there'll be like moments of like heroism. Like one of the dudes who died, like try to save a bunch of kids. They would do a story on that person. There was a Coast Guard that helped a bunch of people. There'd be like breathing room for those kind of stories to be told in the funerals, and then it would take a while for people to start, pointing and assigning blame and doing all that stuff. But now it's like we need to control the narrative. It seems like there's like this concerted effort to from the jump, like without even grieving or like, damn, that sucks, that's horrible, that happened to somebody's family, blah blah blah. Like none of that. Like there's no time for that. That's a luxury that people are just doing away with, just so they can get to like that other side is responsible. That's the only thing that matters.
Does it have something to do with like in a medium is the message kind of way, the fact that this is all happening outside of our immediate experience, it becomes this meta commentary on something else. Everything is a metaphor for everything else, right? And the thing doesn't actually happen, and because it's a story, because it's something that fits into some other narrative, or we have this desire to fit it into whatever our preconceived narratives are, that you then have to try to assign, like that which you think explains the world is always going to explain the world. And because it's not something that's happening to you, because it's not something that, or largely it's not something that's happening to you, it's something that you're experiencing as a story, something you're experiencing on the screen, it becomes just like everything else.
Right.
And because everything in our culture is poisoned by our politics and by this ideological divide that we have, and even less ideological than it is simply tribal. Like there's not an amount of ideology that matters anymore. It's just a tribal question that we have no choice but to assign it to the blame of the warring tribe.
I guess do you think that, I mean, it's a weird way to go about life, at least in my estimation, but does it give people comfort to like shoehorn everything into some
I think it does.
Preconceived thing, right? Because like, why are you straining so hard to make something like this? Is a thing that happens, a crazy thing that happened. Even if you tried, even if you availed yourself of all your resources, bad things happen, right? I mean, all the advanced warnings, all the things that you have. Sometimes a tragedy will happen. Maybe it won't be as 100 people, maybe it'll be 70, but tragedies are not always going to be avoidable.
And to me, it's similar to every time you hear about how, well, this wouldn't be happening but for climate change.
Right.
Or it wouldn't be as bad but for climate change.
Right.
And it just makes me throw up my hands and say, yes, and like, if that's the case, if you're right, what would you recommend? And the only reason that they're throwing out there the climate change angle is to be able to point the finger and say, and Republicans are saying that climate change isn't a thing.
Well, and
right?
because maybe it makes people feel better thinking you can do something to prevent a thing from happening in the future. And they're mad because everybody disagrees on what the thing to do is. But like, if you can blame it on something, it can be avoided.
Right.
But like, if climate change is something that is happening and sort of inevitable because of the modern condition, right? Like, we're not going to get off oil anytime soon. Then what is the mitigation tactic that we should be taking? And is it we need to move tens of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, billions of people around the globe to places that are quote unquote safe from the effects of climate change, even as you continue to insist that there's nowhere that's ultimately safe from the effects of climate change? And like, what is the point of that critique exactly, and what am I supposed to do with it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, what is the solution? I mean, it wasn't as bad as Texas, but there was also like a flood in North Carolina. Like, I don't know what areas are safe. I mean, Atlanta is mostly fine, but like we're pretty full. Like, there are just so many places, you could say, like, maybe don't build in flood-prone areas, but it seems like so many places are either flood-prone or, like, there's Tornado Alley, Part 2, like, through Mississippi now. It's like anywhere you go, there's going to be some danger to, natural weather.
But if you can say that climate change is making it worse, then it would be logical that and climate change is making it worse, number one. Number two, humans are accelerating climate change through their behaviors. Then 3, you can have the humans change their behaviors to make things not get as worse as quickly.
Right. But it seems like we're on the path of like humans are accelerating it and there isn't any incentive to stop doing that. So like, how do you work around that problem?
But that's why they get mad, because they say, because if climate change, if you listened to me and did all the things right and had legislation to make so people couldn't do the wrong thing, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Probably a lot of the same people would still be dead. Like, that's the thing. That's
No,
where
yes,
I always...
I know that. You know that.
I know, but there's an amount of hubris that goes into the whole thing that just drives me crazy. It's not unlike... And this is going from big picture to very small picture. We were having a conversation the other night about uniform pants.
The word pants is a very funny word.
For our
Get
Little
ready.
League. It's true. There was a reason that David Letterman's production company that produced The Late Show was Worldwide Pants. It's a hilarious...
It's a funny
it's
word.
a funny word. It's just what it is.
So imagine a bunch of adult men standing around talking about children's pants.
Yeah. There's a bit of a controversy with the pants in our Little League because years ago, apparently, somebody donated a big pile of pants to the league, and they were very cheap pants. They were see-through. They're white pants. If you're wearing... you could see the underpants right through them.
You can see white underpants through them because of the difference of the skin color.
Okay.
They're just see-through.
They're just see-through pants, basically, and they don't even have belt loops on them. So, they're just elastic-waisted pants, and then you tuck the shirt in, and there's no place for a belt to go, so it looks very silly. And so we don't give out the pants that we have on hand as part of the uniform. The children are expected to, through their parents, source their own pants for the season every year. And that proves to be a slight problem because not everybody always gets the same exact pants, right? So there's slightly different shades of gray. Some kids will have gray pants, others will have white pants. The occasional oddball will show up with black baseball pants.
Abhorrent.
What are you doing? There are pants that have piping, like red or blue piping on the side. There are pinstripe pants that sometimes a kid will show up with. Every once in a while, a kid will show up in his fucking jeans and try to play baseball in his jeans.
Doesn't that undercut the spirit of a uniform when you're...
It does, Abe. And there are some people
people really hate that.
Are really offended by a team of 10 to 12-year-olds who don't have matching pants on.
Reasonably, right? I mean, occasionally they'll have like all-star games of different sports and people, will wear...
Yeah, they wear the hat.
Yeah, and it's like...
we're missing the home run derby right now, aren't we?
Look at this.
Is that next week? It's this week?
Is that... No, it's next Monday. You're right.
Okay, because it's in Atlanta, and I was okay.
All right, well, no recording next week then.
I don't know. I don't care that much about the
care enough to mention. But, there is something... Not enough to complain against, but, it does kind of rub me the wrong... why... why can't y'all...
I agree. You should have... a team should have a uniform look, right? Yeah. They should all look...
How offended is a reasonable amount to get about it, though?
That's true.
Just a little this should be better.
Yeah, so, in passing.
Anyway, the long story short, a couple of years ago, I think I said in an email, I think we're going to go with gray pants. If you guys can get gray pants, great. But, I'm not going to turn a kid away because he doesn't have the right fucking baseball pants on. It's not his fault. And then at the start of this past spring season, I think I was a little bit more firm. Please get gray pants so that we all match or what have you. There's another coach in the league who, because I had a couple of kids on my team a couple of years ago who would not exactly fit in with everybody else, one of them would wear black pants to the baseball games. Had a couple
Abhorrent. They look like cater waiter pants.
Wow.
That the kid... Black base... So the particular pants... They're not like the cut off. What do you call it? The cropped
knickers.
The
style.
knicker. No, they're full length, not baggy, but straight leg. So what I
they look like slacks, basically.
They look like slacks. Yeah. I'm looking at why was this kid at a band concert and then came here from band? They don't read baseball at all.
Right, and then he's the only one. It's one thing if they all look like idiots wearing the black catering pants, But when it's just the one of them, it's like, what are we doing here? We're supposed to be a team. But like to me, it doesn't actually reflect on.
It doesn't matter.
Anything, right? Like it's just.
It doesn't matter.
It's just what
It's
it
Little
is.
League.
I'm not going to be super mad about it. Other people get madder about it than they should. But I was in this conversation, and
people kept saying the word pants.
It was funny. But also, I said at one point when he's like, why don't you, I think he said something like, why don't you insist on everyone wearing the same pants? And I'm like, well, I sent an email out at the start of the year, and I was like, look, we got the blue shirt. We're going to go with the gray pants. Please get gray pants for your kid. And like, in my mind, I see that as the end of my both ability to control and my responsibility to control the situation. I am not going to tell a kid who shows up to the baseball game to get the fuck back out of here and go put on the right pair of pants, because like, as much as I prefer the gray pants and the uniform look, like it's just not within the ambit of my ability to control the world to insist that that kid show up in gray pants. I can ask, it can be a request, but like if the kid shows up in not gray pants,
could
like,
you bench him?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm gonna.
Just saying. I just want to see what is in your arsenal of options. You know, like
the arsenal
he can do whatever he wants.
I
He's
could
the
do
coach.
whatever I want. Yeah, obviously, but also like I did my part. We're gonna wear gray pants. You didn't show up in gray pants. Like It's to me, it's just not the end of the world, right?
It is insubordination, but yes, you're right.
But.
Insubordination.
It's Little League. He's 10. Like it's
also like people don't have money to buy every color pant.
Yeah. But like in the same way that I don't get too worked up about that. Like, and I while I have my preferences, like I think that the thing that allows me to look at the news and see that like, you know, fucking 17 kids died in Chicago this week because of gun violence, or 27 girls at a sleepaway camp in Texas died because the river got raised too quickly.
Sometimes the flood comes. Sometimes the pants are the wrong color. What can you do?
It's not Democrat control of inner city Chicago, right? Like it's just fucking awful human violence. And it's not Republicans defunding the National Weather Service is the reason that these 27 girls are dead. It's that the fucking rain happened and then the waters rose and now they're dead. And like to try to explain it away or blame it on anybody is, to me anyway, it's diminishing of
Didn't something happen recently
the
that
lives
was
lost.
Similarly just like what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Like
it was
a natural
another weather
disaster?
thing. What?
Was it like a natural disaster, like a hurricane?
I think there was.
I mean, it's like I always go back to the Christmas floods in Indonesia or wherever the fuck. Like, 220,000 people died, right?
That tsunami that killed everybody?
Yeah. Like 250,000 people died in a day or two because of a tidal wave. And it's like, you want to go back and blame climate change? You want to blame the fact that, like, I don't know, some government didn't set up an early warning system soon enough in one of the poorest places in the world, or like we didn't insist that these people who've been living in this low-lying area for hundreds of thousands of years should be relocated or what have you. Like, no, it's just something that fucking happens, and it's like it's so beyond explanation or rationality that like to try to find something or someone to blame it on, or to imagine that we could have exerted some amount of control. And this is where it comes back to the pants thing. Like, we cannot exert enough control over the world around us to dictate the terms of our reality, right? And it is just pure human hubris to imagine that we can. Right. We will always fall short of perfect control. Something will always go wrong. And in fact, anytime that we think that we've got a modicum of control over things, something is going to come by and kick us in the fucking shins and knee us in the balls and explain to us how, in fact, we have none of that control.
Right.
And that humility is a much better response to tragedy than attempting to find someone or something to blame it on.
And also, just for selfish reasons, it's no way to go about life thinking in that way. Because if you're rubbed the wrong way about pants at a little league, game, like you're gonna have a lot of problems. You're gonna have a lot of anguish and disappointment and rage over things
You will be constantly aggrieved.
Right.
You will be the most aggrieved person. And you will just be mad all of the time.
Right.
And the world will always fail to live up to whatever expectation it is that you have for it, in part because, in all likelihood, you will always move the goalposts. Right? Because you experience the world as failing to live up to your understanding of how it ought to be. And if it, in fact, occasionally does, you will find something else to complain about.
Right. It's just very weird because it's like there's this whole world out there, a very chaotic world you have no control over, and then you have yourself, which you have control over, and you're focused on the thing that you have no control over. Just worry about how you react to things and how you process life, and you'll have a much better time.
Yeah. All right. Beyond natural disasters, there's a truly man-made potential disaster, which was the signing of the big, beautiful bill on, I think that happened on July 4th, right? That was sort of
I think the
plan.
signature stuff happened, yeah.
It's basically just the Republican budget bill, right? Trump's way to fund the government for the next year and make the 2017 tax cuts permanent seem to be sort of the driving force behind this bill. To whatever extent you think that's good, and I think that obviously a lot of conservatives do think that 2017 tax cuts were good and stimulated the economy, then I guess you'd be happy about this. Not a lot of ringing of bells and marching in the streets with great pride and happy fervor over it, though, because there seems to be a lot of other stuff in there that they don't particularly want to take ownership of. One thing that I saw that stood out to me, and of course, there's the stuff about no taxes on tips or overtime, which I think is also has an expiration date of 2028.
It has an expiration date, and also there are a lot of gimmicks in this. I mean, a lot of big bills have some weird gimmicks, but this one is chock full of them. And I think the no tax on tips and overtime is a deduction. It's like you're able to deduct it if you work in specific, designated jobs that are like tipped employee kind of jobs,
and make certain amounts of money.
And
like it's not below or above certain.
It's like for fancy servers,
right? It seems like it's a very limited application. But then I guess in theory they'll be able to campaign on it through the midterms and maybe campaign on it in 28 to say, if you want to make this permanent, like show up in November. Maybe that was the idea of letting it sunset in 28.
The one that stood out to me was you no longer permitted to deduct 100% of your gambling losses. And you can now only deduct up to 90% of your gambling losses, which means that, let's say, put $1,000 into the slot machine, right? And you lost that $1,000 on Monday. On Tuesday, you go back and you make $1,000 in the slot machine. You put another $1,000 in the slot machine, but you leave the casino with $2,000. You have no tax obligation on the $1,000 because you've deducted the $1,000 from your total to start with, right? So your net there in terms of your tax obligation,
but you won,
is zero. But you haven't won because you lost $1,000 yesterday, right? So your coin into the machine was $2,000, and your coin out of the machine was $2,000, and therefore nothing really happened there. And now, previously, the IRS would not be involved, right? Because you have deducted all of your gambling losses from your winnings, and so you're net zero. Now, you can only deduct $900 of that transaction. And so your tax obligation is in excess, potentially, of your winnings. So it's going to do some potentially very serious harm to professional gamblers and people who do this both for a living.
Not them.
But also, conceivably, for your everyday asshole like me, if I would over the course of a long year, let's say, rack up $5,000 in gambling losses or something. But it's not like I've actually lost the $5,000 because I have winnings that make up for a lot of those $5,000. At some point, I'm going to be in this funny spot where if I win a couple of hundred, but I can only deduct so much, I'm going to owe more in taxes than I actually won on all of my gambling, and that sucks ass.
Do you think this is
we don't make enough money as a household for that to matter?
That's true.
I mean, I don't know. I've never tracked my coin in on the gambling, right? Because it's never
we
been...
don't need to deduct anything.
No, I know, but I'm just saying as a like I've never even considered thinking about it, but like the amount of money that I've actually gambled is far more than the money that I put into that account at some point,
Oh,
right?
good.
No, you're not understanding. That is the nature of the way that I what do I call myself? A subsistence gambler, right? Is I lose $100 and then I win 105, and then I lose 125, and then I win 150. The point is that the coin in on that could be 1,000. Like I could have suddenly had $1,000 of coin in to my gambling app, despite never having added more than $500 to the account. Right.
You know, I think it was in 2018, there was like a farm bill, and inadvertently, legislators made like weed legal somehow because of the way they worded, like how, I forget what the story was, but basically like the way that people read it was like, technically it makes it legal. And so different like CBD locations across states where it's not legal, like use the loophole to sell basically like THC 9 something, whatever, some goofy thing. And I think they have since cleaned up the language to close that loophole. I wonder if a similar mistake was made here, because if this was intentional, what is the aim here? Are they trying to disincentivize gambling? Because it seems like it's not stiff enough of a disincentive to stop people from gambling. It just seems like it just creates a headache for people to try to figure out where they fall in their winnings and losses, right? So, like, this seems like a mistake was made, and no one is owning up to that, and they're just going to like pretend that it's not a mistake.
I mean, I don't know if a mistake was made or if the idea was to sort of, like, because they're trying to cover their ass and do some amount of offsets for how much all of this, the rest of this thing is going to cost.
Oh, they're just trying to make up they're trying to get the mass
gesturing in the general direction of fiscal responsibility.
Right. Although, I mean, all of the supposed savings, like, like slashing Medicaid coverage, I mean, making it a little more difficult to get Medicaid, and all these other cuts to services, like, it's not like that's going to pay down the debt or anything. It's just going out the door, right? So it's like whatever objective there is here to kind of bring down the national debt, it's not doing that. It's adding
it's
to
all
it.
Such, and you listen to the Trump people going on the Sunday shows and talking about, being asked about the fact that the congressional budget or whoever, the OMB is like, well, this is going to add to the national debt, fucking $6 trillion a year or something, right? Like whatever it is that they think it's going to cost. And they're like, yeah, well, they've been wrong before. They'll be wrong again in the future. And we expect this amount of growth to overcome any amount of potential cost, right? The whole point here is this is a pro-growth bill, and we're going to have growth that far exceeds what any of the expectations are. And therefore, the tax revenues are going to go way, way up because of a growing economy. Not because we are raising taxes, but simply because the tax base is that much bigger because of our pro-growth policies. And that's all well and good as a piece of rhetoric, but also like they're doing nothing to address what seems to be looming potentially existential crisis in terms of our debt service.
Right.
To the point where it's funny, like the things that like Elon Musk suddenly cares about as a person who for some reason still has a great deal of influence on the national political conversation, where he's like wants to start a new political party because of this bill.
Party? I mean, he's not going anywhere with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going anywhere with it, and I don't even know what one imagines like like who does it appeal to?
Disillusioned
Tech
Trump
bros.
fans? Right?
If we cared about the debt, there would be politicians who took advantage of that fact and presumably attempted to do something about it, right?
Right.
We do not care collectively about the debt. It's too big. It makes too little sense to the average person. It doesn't impact them in a meaningful way on a day-to-day basis, in a way that they can actually fucking feel, even if the reality is the reason that we are as constantly aggrieved with one another and with the system as a whole probably has a lot to do with our national debt at this point, right? Like the squeeze that we all feel all of the time in terms of price and healthcare costs and housing costs and everything else is intimately related with the fact that they just passed a piece of legislation that adds, I forget what the number is. It's some
$3 trillion over 10 years, something like that.
I know, but like they broke that out into how much this costs per individual American.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's like, well, you just added $8,000 to your personal debt load, or $29,000 or something. I'm making both of those numbers up, but one of them stuck in my head for some reason.
Right.
It's completely beyond our easy graspability, right, in terms of our day-to-day lives, but also it might explain like why everything feels like it sucks now, in terms of going to the grocery store and buying things and all of the other things that people are upset about having to pay for.
It's interesting that this trillions of dollars of debt and this bill that is so complex and like 10 years it's going to take for things to kind of unfold, like none of that impacts people on a day-to-day basis, and that's why I think like it doesn't really register like at least directly. But like you see like in Philadelphia, there is this work stoppage here with the sanitation crew or the garbage men and women, and it's been like 7 days, and like you see all the visuals of all the trash piling up in the city of Philadelphia, and it's like pissing people off. Like if those
just sounds like a normal Monday in
Sounds
Philadelphia
like New Jersey.
to me.
the like things like that, like if the national debt ever impacted like day-to-day services on a nationwide level, things would fall apart. Like if like the Social Security check stopped, coming, and the 911 number service stopped. Like if all of those like basic, we live in a society functions stopped, even for a brief moment, things would fall apart. But short of that, people are just going to continue living their lives.
Bob's internet has gone away. Can you still hear me? No, he can't. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, Bob's internet. It's Bob.
Oh, you guys are on different internets?
No, well, I guess so. Mine's better.
Yeah, you're still alive. Bob is still fraying.
I don't know what he's. It's
It says it's connecting.
It says it's connecting.
Is that like
Hello.
Homemade cookies? What is that?
Pound cake.
Oh, pound cake.
Sounds like a fun activity more than a tasty dessert, if you know what I mean.
Pound cake. Are we done? Can we be done?
In the middle, they're talking about something, and then the internet just went away.
We were at the end of talking about something.
What was
it
that
was a
thing?
perfect time for the internet
My
to go
computer
away.
lost the theory of Wi-Fi. Like there's no longer a concept on my laptop of Wi-Fi. It's not in the settings. It's as though the modem, the wireless radio in there simply never existed. So that's fun.
That is weird.
The good news is I had a pre-strung 75 feet of Ethernet cable. I just plugged it in. I seem to have lost some of the footage, though, because right now it's quite tight, the wire. It's just barely hanging on there. Not a great solution to the problem. I'm going to have to rework that in some way. Anyway, what were we talking about? The big, beautiful bill?
Yes.
Yeah, but it wasn't important or interesting.
I mean, it is the defining and will be the defining piece of legislation of Trump's second term.
I mean, let's wait and see.
Well, these are early days. You don't think he got one more in him before the midterms?
No, I do not. That's a very pound cake is a hard thing to chew and talk through. I'm discovering.
You should probably just stop.
Probably the same as the activity in terms of carrying on
Pound cake.
intelligent conversation while pounding cake. All right, a couple of last headlines here before we wrap up. Justice Department review finds Jeffrey Epstein had no client list and died by suicide.
What's going on with this story? Like, how do we take a turn? Like, weren't there promises made earlier this year of like releasing the list and the files and the this and the that?
I think the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, said out loud, like to the press, "I've got the client list on my desk right now."
Yeah, that's right. What happened to that?
And now apparently it doesn't exist.
Just tie it in a neat bow. And you know, a lot of people think there was foul play with the suicide. I personally think the story as it stands is what probably happened. But like a lot of people think like it's very convenient how it all sorted itself out. And for them to just kind of conclusively say that's that. You would
It is not believable. Like, I know that, first of all, I think that he killed himself in all likelihood. I think that it's not some grand conspiracy to allow the global pedophile ring to continue unabated. But also, like, what do you mean there's no client list?
right.
Like, there are...
I have a client list.
There are
I have a
people
list of clients.
who were in his little black book. Like, he was an investor of some sort. He had pals that he brought up on his plane, and they would get inappropriate massages over there on Inappropriate Massage Island. And like,
Oh, speaking of which.
Donald Trump was on that list, right? Like, we know that he was on the plane. He sort of joked publicly about how Jeffrey Epstein sure does like his girls young.
Right.
So, like, it's not really plausible for me to hear the Justice Department has conclusively determined that there is no such thing as a Jeffrey Epstein client list. Like, how are they defining that specifically in order to be able to say that with any degree of truth value? I don't know.
You know, even if the information came to light and it had like some of the people many expect to be on the list, like Trump and Clinton, not Hillary, the other one, would it make a difference to Trump's support? Like if
No, of course
right?
not.
So like it seems like, well, why not just release it? What's going to happen?
I mean, if you can not have your
That's-
name be associated
That's
with
probably true.
the known sex trafficker.
If it could be avoided, you're right. Yeah, you probably would want to avoid it.
All right, and then RFK is going to ban the food dyes, but the candy industry is like, hold on a second. People like the food dyes because it makes them think that their food is tastier. I don't have a lot to say about that, except to say that, again, it's not the food dyes. That's the problem with your fucking M&Ms or your Fruit Loops. The problem is that you're eating a giant, like they say, share size of M&Ms. No, I'm probably just going to
And no fat. The problem is that there's no fat in them.
fist these M&Ms into my face until the diabetes thing on my arm starts yelling at me. Anyway, we lost some time there because of the internet, and sadly, I don't have any Mark Strassman to play. He did a story this week on CBS Evening News about a dead cancer chick, a young woman who suffered what she believed was cancer at the hands of the negative environmental impact of 3M. I think they're in Minneapolis or somewhere in Minnesota or elsewhere in the upper Midwest there. And so she was a crusader against the dumping of toxins into our waterways and what have you. And they signed a piece of legislation in her name 3 months after she died of her various cancers. Obviously a very sad story. And Strassman had none of the cojones necessary to attempt to get off a good one. I wouldn't even say at her expense. I would say in her honor.
Right.
But he neglected to even try, so I'm not going to play that story here.
See, he does know when to pull the punches. You know, he shows restraint when the situation calls for it.
This is a man who once said that there's no vaccine for racism, Abe, after...
Well, is there one?
To be fair, like Lori said, there isn't.
Victims died of hypothermia in bedrooms and backyards. Texans shivered and boiled all at once. A couple hours later, the mob trampled the Constitution. And Roseanne Boylan of Kennesaw, Georgia. But there's no vaccine for COVID-era racism.
Anyway, you've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob Knight. Find the show on Find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com. For more from us, head on over to tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com, for more from Mark and his fellow bandmates, including the Thousand Man Jerry, whom we will see in concert this weekend.
Unless
What?
Bob gets sick.
No kidding. What's the occasion beyond the seeing?
So as it turns out, Jerry plays in a Pink Floyd tribute band. They put on this big laser show, like this big fucking fancy thing that they do. And they're touring. And they're coming to Waynesboro, Virginia on Saturday. And
near
Waynesboro,
us.
Virginia is like fucking 20 minutes away.
No kidding.
Like 35 minutes away?
That's awesome.
So yeah, we're going to go see this Pink Floyd tribute band on Saturday night. Should be a hoot.
Wow.
I'm going to be really high.
What's the venue set? Like, how many people can this place hold?
I
Won't
think
matter.
around 1,000,
Okay. Oh,
like
that's
800
nice,
to
yeah.
1,000, I
Good-
think.
good number.
Nice small little venue there. Should be fun. Abe, did you make it to the movies this week?
I did. I went to go see Jurassic World Rebirth.
Nice.
They're doing it again for some reason.
Oh, good.
This one is with Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali and others.
Almost there. I saw a headline that said that Scarlett Johansson became the highest grossing lead actor in history because of this movie.
Right.
I have some questions.
I mean, they're adding like voiceover work to the tally, right? Not to discount her 14 billion gross, whatever number.
She's in a lot of Marvel
She's
movies.
not a lead actor in the Avengers movies. Though that's an ensemble film.
Right, yeah,
And
so-
if anyone can be said to be a lead
Yeah.
actor, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
And maybe that purple thumb guy.
But her being a lead actor in anything, and then she's paid.
Yeah, because she gets
From
top
other
dollar,
stuff.
right? I mean, maybe that's how they're doing the math. You know, even though
If they had submitted her role as Black Widow to the Academy for consideration,
No.
would that have been actress in a leading role
No,
in
that's not what they're
Avengers
referring
2
to.
Age of Ultron? Or would that have been at most actress in a supporting role?
Right.
And I suspect it would have been the latter. So don't send me a headline that says Scarlett Johansson is the highest grossing lead actor. No, she's just been in a bunch of very, very profitable films.
Yeah.
That's a different question.
yeah,
Oh, but that's not a good headline.
yes. And also,
Anyway,
yeah.
how was it?
So the movie is you have to basically let a lot of things slide to enjoy it. A lot of stupid
Okay.
moments, and the movie begins with a stupid moment. So these are like scientists, researchers, whatever, these stupid dinosaurs, right?
Hot ones?
Some of them. But they have this one guy. There's almost like this like schleppy guy who's supposed to be like really smart, but he can't do away with his Snicker, like a little fun size of Snickers, right? And he drops it, and that causes some sort of havoc on the door, and then things fall apart because of his need to be within striking distance always of some snack, right? Like, it has to be done. I don't know. There's no other way. Like, the movie starts like that.
Abe is saying as he looks down at his junior mints and raisinets in his lap as he indulges in this movie.
I'm not a scientist. I'm just sitting there watching. Anyways, throughout the movie, different characters take turns behaving stupidly just to advance the plot. The whole movie is just one stupid moment after another.
Is it like Jujubes the next time?
No,
Like,
it's just dumb.
Is it a series of of snacks of increasingly petroleum based food dye.
Is that
brightness.
really what the movie's about? Is it about the red dye?
Yeah, no, that's how it ends. No, but what the movie is about, I think this is a point you've raised before, Bob. So dinosaurs, very ferocious dinosaurs, want to kill, and like none of the main cast die, spoiler alert, except the one guy who is the stooge for the big corporation. Like he's like this.
It's the big corporation's fault.
Cartoonishly evil corporate guy. Basically, they're like, we need to go to. Apparently, this is like set in the future, like 17 years later or 30 years later since the first one, and
since the first one, what?
They're trying to tie it to the original Jurassic Park.
Okay. From 1995?
93. I think it's like 32 years ago, blah, 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 or 30.
Okay, so not the future, just set now relative to...
Yes, it's in our time, but...
That's the present.
The present, yes. Let me amend my previous statement. The present. I'm still in 1993 time. So we jump forward to the current day, and there's an island of, like... they basically did a lot of under the table tests on these dinosaurs, like mating them and doing all this like weird shit, and they're like just evil, and like no one is to go to this island. This island is bad news. These dinosaurs are gonna kill you. And so the corporate guy is like, I'm gonna pay Scarlett Johansson for her know-how and Mahershala Ali for his security detail skills, and all these people will pay you $10 billion. We want to extract some blood samples from these animals, and our company will cure everything and will corner the market. Money for us. We're so evil.
Pharmaceutical company, no less.
Right. And so the whole movie, like,
does fucking Luigi Mangione have an associate producer credit on this fucking movie?
He might as well, though. And then, as bad as that is, they have to like spell it out of how evil this guy is, right? And so like, there's a moment where, like, the daughter of like some guy, like this innocent girl, she's like calling help. But then if they call help, then his plans are ruined. So it's just him and the girl, and he's like, oh, you can't call. Don't worry about what your dad said. We're not going to call help. Like, are you kidding me? And they get into this little scuffle, and then he pushes her off the boat where she's going to die. And he's like, yeah, fuck her. But she doesn't die, and she rats him out later. She's like, hey, that guy tried to kill me earlier. And then he has a gun, and he's like, fuck it. I'm going to be evil now. And then he gets killed by the dinosaur. And that's the only death.
Yeah.
Like, it's like so cartoonishly, like...
This was written by David Koepp, the guy who wrote the first one, I believe. And so I think the thought was we're going to make this, make Jurassic Park world great again. And you're saying sounds like not that great.
And then, Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala and the others are like, we're going to open source. We're going to give it to the world. And, whatever information comes from these fucking blood samples from these dinosaurs, it's going to be open to all the scientists to do with whatever they want. And that's kind of how the movie just ends.
Because this is a big popular movie, or at least it's attempting to become one, a lot of my Google News feed gets populated with stories about Jurassic World, or the actors acting therein, as in the ScarJo thing about the highest grossing lead actor of all time. But also I saw one that said Mahershala Ali, it's not his. We can all agree that Green Book was a terrible movie, but also it wasn't Mahershala's fault. It's like, that's weird.
Why are they saying that?
I don't know.
That's rude.
It doth protest too much, I think.
Well, also, why bring up a movie? Like, it was 10 years ago.
No, Green Book was...
like 8, It's got to be like...
2020 or something, right?
No. It's got to be at least 8 to 10. I think Laura's closer to right. I'd say 2017, if I had to guess.
2018.
2018. Look at that.
Anyway, anything else besides the not great dinosaur movie?
No. At home, I watched.
It must have been better than the last couple.
It's much. Yeah,
those were the most incredibly forgettable blockbuster films. It's up there with Avatar in terms of like all of these people went and saw this movie and these movies, and they made a bunch of money, but like in terms of cultural impact, especially relative to the first Jurassic Park and relative to even like there's nobody's like sitting around thinking about like the continuity between Jurassic Park 1993 and then the Chris Pratt bullshit from the last decade, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those were terrible. So it's an improvement on that, but that's not saying much. Again, it's entertaining. You just can't be critical in any way. Just take it all in. Like, all right, this makes no sense. Why is this family just fishing off? Like this estranged father has taken out his kids to, like, I don't know, the middle of nowhere, and they get stuck because some fucking swimmy dinosaurs fuck them up. You know, it's very like, we just need you to be here so we can have these moments.
Yeah.
And that's it. On the TV front, I caught, like, there was some documentary on the 7/7 attacks over in London.
Yeah, on Netflix.
Yeah,
I
on
think.
Netflix. Yeah, I mean, it's been 20 years now. I forgot that there was actually like a credible attempt to do it again, like 2 weeks later. Like there was like another group of people that were about to like blow themselves up, and something just didn't take. Like the mixture of whatever the explosives was not right. But I think were it not for that, they would have been able to succeed. It's kind of like that underpants guy, like that flew in and like his pants
the underpants guy.
Yeah, his underwear bomber or whatever, and also the shoe bomber that were taking our shoes off. Like there were a lot of like.
Wasn't the shoe bomb kind of overblown? Like even if it had exploded, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal.
There's a good podcast about it.
No, okay.
Oh, it would have done serious damage. By the way,
it would have been bad enough. It's an airplane.
No.
I don't know if this is true. I just saw it on my newsfeed somewhere just this week. They're doing away with a shoe taking off thing.
Yeah, that's what the headline said. Anyway,
Easy.
I don't know if we can believe it. Maybe
We'll see.
it's
still gonna make us
it was
do
such
it.
a hopeful message, like those two girls stuck in a tree who survived the Texas floods, that it could be a total bullshit story and that everyone's just sharing because it makes them feel good.
Well, or are they just gonna? Are they gonna still make us take our stuff out?
I think that's
Because remember in Denver, they didn't make us take our stuff out because they had the new
yeah,
ones.
because like some of the scanners, you can
Some of them are just better.
like walk on through, and your shit just goes right through. You don't have to take your electronics out or anything.
It's just better.
Yeah. I let my that TSA nonsense lapse. You know, they give you like 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't travel enough for me to pay again. And next weekend, I'm heading out west to San Diego, so we'll see. The one advantage
Going to San Diego and also going international,
Yes.
not that long from
for
now.
the,
You're like,
for the same
thing
occasion,
is-
it's the bachelor party to the September wedding.
It's also not so bad. Like, I hate flying as much as anyone. And it is annoying
right,
to
but
have to.
If you're like my brother and you fly every week,
If you fly all the fucking time, it's worth it. Or if you're Julia and you get it for free because you are a government employee, then like great.
Yeah.
But you just take the stuff out here.
Yeah, boom. And sometimes, I mean, like, there have been
don't
times.
say boom, Abe, you idiot. Take the stuff out, boom.
You said the shoe thing was overblown, and that was okay.
Good documentary, worth watching.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people died.
Is it 3 goddamn episodes in 3.5 hours for no reason?
You know,
or is
I
it-
don't know if it was. I think maybe it was like. I remember watching it in one sitting. I don't know if I was just a slob that day or if it's just like, you know, like an hour 30
No,
documentary.
I think they've stopped because I watched the one about American Apparel was just an hour.
Okay.
Nice. All right, what did we watch, Lori?
We watched two things. We watched Sonic 2 and we finished the Blink Twice movie.
All right, so Blink Twice had a.
I liked it.
It was not. I didn't.
Bob
care
did
for
not like it.
It's fine.
Doesn't like when the women win at the end of stuff.
Isn't this
That's
the
not
one
the-
that you guys watched part of?
We watched part of, and then
We watched the first half.
What happened? We just
We
got
went
too
to bed.
late. We just went to bed.
So
yeah.
you enjoyed the first part, or just didn't enjoy any part of it?
Me?
He didn't like any of it.
I didn't like. It's fine. I just don't. It wasn't compelling or provocative in ways that resonated with me. I suppose. I think it's too. It's all too on the nose, I think, is my problem with that movie. Like, you know, Rape Island, and we're going to make you forget, and then the girl gets her fucking Django's revenge, basically, right? And then, like, also becomes the villain in, like, by taking the power herself, right? Rather than exposing him for what he is. Instead,
right.
she becomes the CEO of the company in the final shot of the film. Like, okay, like, whatever. I don't care. Like, it was fine, and it was like, I guess if you get a kick out of watching chubby Haley Joel Osment get his ass lit up
Why is it gotta
by
be
some
chubby?
chick. Like, that's pretty funny, I guess. The fact that Christian Slater is in it, but also, like, it's kind of not in it.
Right.
Like, they don't even recognize that it's... Like, Christian Slater feels like he's never actually in center frame of the camera at any point. He's just sort of always, like, off to the side. And you know it's Christian Slater because you can hear him talking, and he has a very distinctive face and voice. But, like, why is it Christian Slater?
Right.
And, like, if you have Christian Slater in this movie, you kind of have to have a reason for it, I think.
Maybe he just felt like it.
I guess.
What else is he doing? I don't like him.
Really? Not a big...
I like the part where everybody got murdered. Like, that was cool.
You don't like him in this movie, or just don't like him as an actor in general?
I don't like him in general. Okay. But I like the movie.
He was a video store standard. Like, you could go and
I don't
just
like
pick
him.
out the latest Christian Slater action flick when you were 16 years old, and you have yourself a good
We could go to the
Saturday
movies
night.
and see the new Christian Slater. It's from Clueless. That's what she says in Clueless.
All right, so we watched that, and then we watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with the children. As I said, I'd heard that it was much better, and about an hour in...
It was not.
I was like, what the fuck were people talking about with this movie? The second act of this movie, you don't even see the hedgehog for like fucking 25 minutes. And instead, the chick from the White Lotus, who works at the spa, who in the most recent episode is the one who goes to Thailand
Belinda.
and gets the Thai boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah. And then she abandons him when she gets the money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a character in this, and what she is she's the aggrieved and angry black lady. But, like, in order to justify the existence of the angry black lady who's, like, comically over the top, just pointlessly and for no good reason, really, hates the James Marsden character, except that he's, like, a befuddled fucking handsome white guy, right? So he's the befuddled handsome white guy, and she's the angry black woman, and they don't get along. He goes to her wedding because he's married to the sister. Also, not a believable couple, and not because I'm racist, but like those people have zero chemistry. The James Marsden and his wife character.
Is that a deliberate thing? There have been a lot of like comedies and like light-hearted kind of stuff where they just like put no effort into the couples. They're just like, here's Adam Sandler.
You're white,
and,
you're black, and we
yeah.
like to have multiracial families and couples.
Right.
So yeah, you're going to be stuck together.
There's no like chemistry test or like like sit down and just kind of see if you just have some sort of playfulness. Like I think Adam Sandler and Queen Latifah had a thing. I was like, what is this?
To be fair, who has James Marsden ever had fucking chemistry with?
It's a better question.
Best role is when they cover his eyes and he's behind the Cyclops mask there in the X-Men.
Wasn't he in that fake juror show for a bit?
He wasn't he? I didn't ever watch that, but yeah, that was
Okay.
He was on
Also,
anyway,
oh, she's older than I thought.
25
Jesus.
minutes of this movie is the sister-in-law's destination wedding in Hawaii.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about
where like she's getting hitched to this super buff black dude, and like I guess you just at first you're like, well, am I a jerk? Because like why would this guy be into this chick? But then it turns out he's a secret agent of the government, and the whole thing is a honey trap.
Did you say I knew it, Bob? Like an asshole? I was like,
The woman who plays the wife in the movie is married to a very boring-looking white dude in real life.
Look at that.
So maybe that's what they were thinking.
Maybe. Anyway, then they have this whole thing
It's very weird.
where the chick from the White Lotus goes into action hero mode using like the gadgets and gizmos that the Tails character has brought from another dimension, and like goes full Jackie Chan on everybody who works for the federal government. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We haven't seen the little blue fucker for 20 minutes, and this woman is doing a bad fucking corny SNL version of a James Bond thing in the middle of this movie. What is happening? And I was like, why are we even watching this? And what was everyone thinking? Like, and then we watched the final hour of the movie, And it's like, okay, like that was kind of fun. Like Jim Carrey gets the fucking special green emerald, and he becomes the most powerful creature imaginable. And he's in this like 200-foot tall mech suit of the character, and like then they battle with Sonic. It's like, all right, that was kind of cute and fun for the last 45 minutes, I guess. And the Idris Elba voicing of the Knuckles character was charming in that Thor way.
Just like Thor.
Thor in the first Thor movie in the MCU.
Any fish out of water story is funny.
A fish out of water, especially when you're very strong. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger learned this very early, right? Kindergarten Cop or
Terminator.
Twins or Terminator. Yeah. Like put a big, strong guy who's enormous and
in the world,
the size of a fridge. And kind of dumb, or at least doesn't vocalize in intelligent ways.
Well, just matter of fact, robotic, no nuance.
Right. And naive.
Naive, yeah.
Right. And comedy happens, right? And that's what they do with the Knuckles character. And so that always works. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like everybody's like, this is way better than the first one. It's like, about the first one. It wasn't.
Well, that's what we did.
So that's what we did. I read, and this is something that I wanted to talk about. I read this week a book by Percival Everett, who's the guy who movie that everybody liked a couple years ago, American Fiction.
Oh, that's right.
He wrote the novel that it wasn't called that; it was called Erasure or something like that. The thing that was based upon. This is that guy, and he wrote a book that came out last year called James. And it is a retelling of the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of...
Like a Christopher Moore book.
Jim, the slave.
Is it hilarious?
It's not hilarious.
Oh.
It has its moments. But it's a reimagining of, not just strictly a retelling of, but a bit of a reimagining of Huck Finn from the perspective of Jim. And I will say... From the top, I think that you should read it. And by you, I just mean you. People should read this book. It was a good book and interesting and provoking and provocative. That doesn't mean that it gets my full endorsement. It doesn't mean that I loved it, but I think that it is absolutely worth engaging with. That said, and I read it. You know, it's a quick read. It's 300 pages or so, but it reads very quickly, and not terribly. It's not difficult to parse, certainly. And its conceit, I mean, aside from being a retelling of Huck Finn from the perspective of Jim the slave, is that the dialect that the slaves employ is something of a cover, and that when they are speaking amongst themselves, they speak as erudite and educated and relatively formal as anybody else does. And when they are speaking to or in the presence of their white masters and just any other white people, really, they revert back to the slave dialect as portrayed by Mark Twain, right? And as certainly is experienced in the culture at that time, presumably. What I found interesting about it, in part, was, first of all, that's not a commentary on the 1830s and 1840s America, right? Like it is not conceivable that what was actually happening back then was the enslaved people, when they spoke amongst themselves, spoke in perfect grammatical English, and then reverted to what's essentially a pigged-in form of the language when white people were around. Like that's not plausible. As a conceit, it's cute, and also it's effective dramatically, both in no small part because it's obviously kind of funny. But like they don't want the white people to know, because it would, the idea being that it will just make their lives worse if the white people know that they are actually able to communicate just like they can, or in most cases more effectively than their white counterparts can. So it cannot possibly be a theory of the case of the life of the 1830s or 1840s slave, right? And you don't necessarily expect it to be. But what it then is instead is it must be a commentary in some way on the modern experience, right? And one can imagine that the theory here is that the reason that code switching exists, that code switching is a thing, at least in the conception of Percival Everett, is when we speak amongst ourselves, we're doing so because... Is my internet sucking ass right now?
A little bit.
No, it's fine. It did get weird. Whatever. You're the only one talking, so it doesn't matter.
As a theory that could apply to the modern experience, it strikes me, unless I'm completely misunderstanding it, like you're sort of saying that the modern African American speaks one sort of language when they're amongst themselves, and it is plausibly proper grammatical English. But when they're in the presence of the broader culture or of other white people, they speak in this vernacular that is a lesser form of the language. And I don't mean that as a judgment that I'm using. That is very clearly the judgment of the writer here, because the revealed Jim, who christens himself James eventually, his true identity is in the written word and in the effectively spoken word as well. Like, he struggles with his identity and who he is relative to who his slave masters believe him to be, and he comes out the other side of it as someone who is creating himself through his expression of language in a profoundly different way than he would normally voice in the presence of white people. And so, to me, it veers very close to a Bill Cosby-esque critique of the culture, right? Which is pull up your pants, speak proper English, and you'll go places in this world.
What was it called? Respectability politics back in the day?
Right. Like, it smacks of respectability politics in a way that, like, I don't know if that's the intention, and I would be surprised if it was. But I can't help but see it. And I don't know that it, like, does it mean that he thinks that the way that most, or at least the way that people communicate to one another in the culture, using that lesser form of the language, is a diminishment of their humanity or of their identity in some way, that they are perhaps performing a lesser form of their best selves as they go about their lives. And I don't know.
Right. I mean, I haven't read the book, but it sounds like it could be read that way also, right? I mean, like, is this tactic being used? I mean, the modern day, there's like this code switching. You know, you speak one way in your in-group, and then you speak a different way in the general public. Are they saying, like, you as a black person, you can't be your true self because it's dangerous? Like, so you need to, like, mollify whomever just so they won't get upset?
You should make Mike Mullen read this book.
Right, yeah, maybe. That's true.
Yeah, I think that is sort of what, I mean, I think that's what the underlying critique likely is, right? That we cannot be our true and best selves because the culture won't accept us. That somehow, like, the reason that the slavers were so offended to find, and I won't spoil this sort of surprising plot point in the book that shows up. It's hinted at a couple of times and then shows up in full flower in the last third or so.
It's not crab people, right? You can roll that out.
What's that?
It's not crab people at the end?
No, it's not crab people.
Crab people. Crab people.
But crap, people got me off my
Sorry.
track.
That's fine.
Like the reason the reason that the slavers are so offended by the possibility that their slaves are able to communicate in a way that is more than the idiot pigged in English that they normally communicate in is because it reveals the possibility that they have intelligence and imagination beyond what it would be acceptable to enslave, right? Like it ruins the illusion of superiority that they have been operating under. If you take that to its natural conclusion, it's like, well, then if that's the case, then it is, even though this is a group of people that don't have any of the power in this dynamic, like the performance of this idiocy is helping to perpetuate the system itself, right? Because if it so desperately offends the sensibilities of the slavers to hear their enslaved people communicating as normal human beings and of superior intellect, then it would, and yes, the result is violence, right? Like the result is not compassion. The result is hateful violence, but also like the result of that hateful violence would ultimately be the collapse of the system, right? So in some way, I suppose the metaphor breaks down at some point where you don't want to take any metaphor to its entirely to its conclusion, because you sort of lose the thrust of it, I suppose. But as a commentary on the modern day, and he makes certain changes to the story. He moves it from the 30s and 40s to right up against the Civil War for some reason. Like it's as they're coming back up from their trip down the Mississippi, they encounter people talking about the war that's getting underway, and they encounter some soldiers making their way down from the north to the south. And I'm not entirely sure why that move was made. I can't think of any particular plot point that it actually fundamentally mattered. Except
like
for a couple of pieces of
a more charged environment, like is it...
conversation. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, there's a few things that change dramatically from this story as presented by Mark Twain, but I still think it's a worthy companion to the Mark Twain book. Not in terms of it being a work of American fiction that is going to stand the test of time forever, but as a commentary on it, or as a response to it. I think it's an interesting conversation, certainly, with Huckleberry Finn. But again, I'm fascinated by the implications of that particular dynamic on the modern day, which is, does Percival Everett actually think that the way that the modern African American communicates is a cheapening of his humanity and is in some way a performance of something that the white society demands, that if sort of thrown off would reveal the humanity of black people to the culture at large in a way that previously we have constantly rejected. And I don't know. I don't know. But a good book.
Yeah.
And it ends in a way like, it's funny, I got like what felt like nearly to the end of it, and like 3/4 of the way through, part 1 ends and part 2 begins, and then part 2 is like 30 pages or something, and then part 3 is another 40 or 50 pages. It's a very strange book, as though he imagined it to be much bigger when he set out writing it.
Yeah.
And the ending isn't satisfying in terms of, I think, what is promised by the first third of the book, especially. It, not to spoil things, but it ultimately becomes this sort of angry revenge fantasy thing rather than something perhaps more interesting than that. But still, a good book, worth checking out. Anything else that we consume?
No, we have a whole other podcast to record, and it's 10:20.
Yeah, but those go fast. They're very fast.
They don't.
Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I guess that's all we've got for you tonight, then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
You're ready now.
cough is still hanging around.
It's very annoying.
Won't go
'cause
away.
Why?
I felt way better on Friday, and then on Saturday or yesterday, I forget. I think Friday and Saturday I felt way better. Like a little coughing, but whatever.
Coughing.
And then
Coughing,
all of a
coughing,
sudden
coughing.
my throat started hurting a lot again in a different way. It just won't go away.
That sucks.
Went to the doctor and everything.
I went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, that sucks,
Oh, yeah, that was their feedback?
basically.
Have you ever had it last, like a persistent cough for like a few weeks?
Yeah, it's the sore throat that bothers me. The cough is whatever. Like, yes, that lasts. I've had that last forever.
The cough only bothers me, really.
Yeah.
Mostly on Monday nights and any time after midnight or so.
Because I'm not here most of the other time. So
I see.
it's only when I'm around him that it's bothering him. So I'll do better in the future.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.